I want you to listen to me very carefully, because this is not just a story, it is my life, my pain, my truth, and my survival. And I promise you, if you stay with me until the end, you will feel emotions you might have never felt before. My name doesn't matter because I could be any girl, any bride, any woman who went through a night that no one should ever have to go through. I request you to watch till the end, and if my words touch your heart, then please support me by liking and subscribing, because now this is how I share my journey and earn my living. Telling my truth to the world. Telling the secrets that almost destroyed me, but also made me stronger than I ever thought I could be. So, let me take you back to the night that changed everything. My wedding night, the night when my mother-in-law slapped her own brother-in-law. And that single slap exposed a truth so dark that I never looked at my marriage, my husband, or my new family the same way again. I had always dreamed of marriage like most girls do. I imagined love, respect, happiness. A new home where I would be accepted like a daughter, where I would smile without fear, where my dreams would find a place to live. But my marriage was not like that. From the very beginning, there were signs that something was off. My husband was kind but distant, as if he was carrying a weight on his shoulders that he never shared. My mother-in-law was strict, very traditional, and she carried herself with a pride that made me feel small every time I tried to speak. But that night, that wedding night, I saw her lose all control in front of everyone, and it left me shaken after all the rituals. The guests had left, the music had gone silent, and the house was settling into the heavy quietness of a wedding night. I was nervous, sitting in the room decorated with flowers, my heart racing with dreams and fears, when suddenly I heard shouting from the hall. Loud voices, chairs moving, glass breaking, and then a slap so loud it echoed through the entire house. My heart stopped because it wasn't just any slap. It was my mother-in-law slapping her own brother-in-law, the very man who had been smiling and laughing during the wedding, who had blessed me with so many fake sweet words earlier. He stood there frozen, his cheek red from the force of her hand, and the room filled with silence. No one dared to breathe. I peeked from behind the curtain of my room door. Confused and terrified, what could have happened? What could have forced a woman of such pride to break the image of her dignity and slap her own brother-in-law in front of the entire family? She screamed at him with words that I will never forget. "How dare you bring this into my house on my son's wedding night? How dare you?" I had no idea what she was talking about, but her face was red with anger and shame. Her brother-in-law's eyes filled with both guilt and fear. And I realized something terrible was hidden in that house. A secret they had tried to bury for years, but that night had clawed its way back to the surface as the new bride. I felt small, powerless, standing at the edge of a storm I didn't understand. But deep down my chest burned with fear because I knew my life was no longer about love and dreams. It was about surviving whatever the secret was. My husband came rushing to the hall. Trying to calm his mother, his uncle stood silent. My mother-in-law's hand shook, and then she saw me standing there at the door, her eyes piercing into mine as if warning me, as if telling me without words, "You're in this now. But don't you dare speak." I went back into my room, trembling, my veil falling off my head, my hands cold and tears sliding down my cheeks. I whispered to myself, "Ya Allah, what have I entered into? What is happening? What truth are they hiding from me?" The night that was supposed to be filled with love turned into a night of silence and shadows. My husband entered the room later, his eyes heavy, his smile forced, and I asked him gently, "What happened?" But he didn't answer. He just touched my hand and said, "Don't ask, please, for now, just don't ask." And in that moment, I knew whatever it was something big, something dangerous, something that could break families, maybe even destroy lives. Days turned into weeks into months, but the memory of that slap haunted me. I noticed how my mother-in-law avoided her brother-in-law, how the family whispered when he entered the house, how my husband would grow tense whenever I mentioned his uncle's name. It was as if everyone knew a truth I was not allowed to know. Everyone carried the burden of that slap in silence. And I was left in the darkness, guessing, doubting, fearing, but I am not the kind of woman who accepts silence forever. My heart ached with curiosity, with the need to understand what kind of family I had married into. What kind of secrets were hiding behind these walls? Because how can a marriage survive if it is built on lies? How can love grow if truth is buried? The more I searched, the more I noticed strange things, late-night phone calls. My husband leaving the house suddenly with his uncle. My mother-in-law crying alone in her room at night when she thought no one was watching. And finally one day, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. It was late evening. The house was quiet. I was arranging the cupboards when I found a small wooden box hidden behind folded bed sheets in my mother-in-law's room. I should not have touched it. I knew it, but my hands were trembling with the weight of curiosity. When I opened it, inside were letters, old photographs, and a gold chain with a pendant that had a picture of a child inside, a child I had never seen before. A child who looked like he belonged to the family but was never mentioned. Never talked about, and in that moment I realized the slap was not just about anger. It was about a hidden child, a hidden life, a hidden sin that my mother-in-law was trying to bury. My heart raced, my breath quickened. I quickly put everything back, my hands shaking. But it was too late. My mother-in-law had seen me from the door, her eyes blazing with fury. And in that moment, I knew I had crossed into a world of secrets that would either break me or make me stronger than I had ever been before. This is not just my marriage anymore. This was a war of truth, a battle of survival. And I was right in the middle of it. So if you are still with me, if my story has touched you so far, please support me by liking and subscribing. Because only with your support I can continue to share everything I lived through. And believe me, the secrets I am about to reveal next will shock you even more than that slap did. You are still here with me, and that gives me strength. Because telling this story is not easy. It is like ripping open old wounds that I had tried to cover with fake smiles. But if you are still listening, then maybe my pain will not be wasted. Maybe my words will reach someone who needs courage today. So please stay with me until the end and don't forget to like and subscribe. Because this is the only way I can continue sharing my story with the world. This is my voice, my survival, my way of earning after everything that was taken from me. And I want you to know every truth that lived inside that house. Every shadow that haunted my marriage. The night my mother-in-law caught me looking at that wooden box was the night everything changed for me. She didn't shout immediately. She just stared at me with eyes that could pierce through my soul. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. She simply walked towards me, took the box from my shaking hands, and said in a cold whisper, "Never touch my things again. Never ask questions that are not yours to ask. You are my son's wife. Remember your place." Her words cut deeper than any slap could. Because in that moment I realized she didn't see me as family. She saw me as an outsider who had no right to the truth. No right to know the pain or the sins that were tearing them apart. But once you see a secret, you cannot unsee it. Once curiosity enters your heart, it grows like fire, and mine was burning me alive. Every time I saw my husband's uncle, my stomach twisted. Every time I saw my mother-in-law's eyes wet with hidden tears, my heart asked questions I could not silence. Who was the child in that picture? Why was his face hidden from the world? Why did my mother-in-law slap her own brother-in-law on my wedding night? What was buried beneath these walls? I tried to talk to my husband again. I begged him, "Please tell me what's happening. Tell me why your mother slapped your uncle. Tell me who that child is." But his face turned pale. His hands trembled. He said, "You don't understand. You don't know what you're asking. If I tell you, you will never see my family the same way again." And then he turned away, leaving me with silence and more pain. And that was when I realized the man I married was not free. He was trapped in chains made of secrets. Chains that were passed down by his family. One evening, as I was walking back from the market, I overheard two women from the neighborhood talking outside our gate. their voices hushed but filled with gossip. One of them said, "Do you know, that family hides such a shameful truth? That is why she slapped him that night, because the ghosts of the past walked into their house again." My heart froze. I wanted to step closer to hear more, but they noticed me and quickly walked away, leaving me with half a sentence, half a truth. And a storm of questions in my chest stopped. My life inside the house became heavier. Every day felt like walking on broken glass. My mother-in-law watched me with suspicion. My husband grew more distant, and the uncle began to look at me in a way that made my skin crawl, as if he knew I was searching for answers, as if he enjoyed the fear in my eyes. And I started to wonder, was he the reason for all this shame? Was he the one behind the hidden child? Was that slap the punishment for something unforgivable? One night, I could not sleep. The air felt thick, my chest heavy. So I walked out to the courtyard for fresh air. And that's when I heard voices from the kitchen. My mother-in-law and her brother-in-law were arguing in whispers, but I caught enough words to shake me to my core. She said, "If the truth comes out, my son's marriage will not survive. Her life will be destroyed like mine was. Don't you dare open your mouth, don't you dare." And he replied, "The truth cannot stay hidden forever. And one day she will know it from someone else, and when she does, it will be worse for all of us." My legs weakened. I nearly collapsed, but I ran back to my room before they saw me. My heart pounding so loudly I thought it would wake the whole house. The next day, I decided I couldn't live in silence anymore. I needed to know. I needed the truth, even if it burned me, even if it destroyed everything, because silence was killing me slowly. So I went to the only person who seemed broken enough to speak, the maid who had worked in that house for many years. The one who saw everything, the one everyone ignored. I found her in the backyard washing clothes. I sat beside her, my voice trembling. "Please, tell me, I beg you. I know there is a secret. I saw the picture of the child. I heard their fight. What is it? What happened?" At first, she refused, shaking her head, whispering, "No, no. If I speak, I will lose my job, maybe even worse." But when she saw the tears in my eyes, when she saw the desperation of a girl trapped in a web of lies, her heart softened and she leaned closer, whispering words that shattered me. "That child was your husband's half-brother, born from a sin that your mother-in-law tried to bury because it was her husband's betrayal. Her husband had an affair with another woman, and when the truth came out, the shame nearly killed her. But the man you saw slap that night, her brother-in-law, he helped cover the scandal. He took the blame, he carried the burden so the family's honor could survive. But deep down she never forgave him, and that night, something reminded her of that shame. And she broke. My hands shook, my lips went dry. I felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath me. My marriage, my dreams, my new family, they were all built on a lie. A secret so poisonous that it had turned love into bitterness, trust into suspicion, and happiness into a mask. And I realized I was not just fighting for my marriage. I was fighting against the ghost of a past I had never been part of. But now it owned me. It consumed me. I looked at the maid, my voice breaking. Why didn't anyone tell me before? Why bring me into this house without warning me, without letting me choose? And she whispered, "Because, child, no one chooses the truth when the lie looks prettier. No one shows the scars when the makeup can cover them, and in this family, appearances matter more than hearts." I went back to my room, my body trembling, tears flooding my eyes. I looked at my husband, and for the first time, I saw the weight he carried. He was not just my husband. He was the son of a broken marriage, the child of a mother who lived with betrayal, and the nephew of a man who sacrificed his own name to protect a family that never truly healed. And I wondered, how could I ever find happiness here? How could I ever build love on top of ruins? Still, I had no choice but to stay. Because I was a wife now, and wives are told to endure, to survive, to swallow their pain. But inside me a storm was raging, and I knew one day I would have to choose between protecting the family's secret or saving my own soul. So please, if you are still here, stay with me till the end of this story. Because what happened next not only broke me, but also forced me to make a decision that would change my life forever. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because your support gives me the courage to keep telling the truth, no matter how painful it is. You are still with me, and I want to thank you. Because sharing this part of my life is the most painful of all, yet it is also the most important. The part where I was forced to choose between silence and truth, between protecting a family that was never truly mine and saving the girl inside me who was slowly dying. So please listen carefully, stay until the end. And if my words touch your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because telling these stories is the only way I can heal, and also the only way I can survive, and maybe through me, someone else will find the courage to speak after I learn the truth about the hidden child, about the betrayal of my father-in-law, about the shame my mother-in-law carried like poison in her heart. I can no longer look at anyone in that house the same way. Every smile felt fake, every prayer at the dinner table felt empty. Every silence was filled with screams that no one wanted to hear. And I began to wonder, was I wrong to marry into this family? Was I wrong to expect love where only lies lived? The slap on my wedding night now made sense. It was not just anger, it was years of buried pain exploding. But what I couldn't understand was why I had to carry the punishment of sins that were not mine. Why my happiness had to be destroyed by secrets I never asked for. Why I was chained to a truth that broke my heart every time I thought of it. I tried to talk to my husband again. This time not with questions, but with tears. Do you even love me? Or am I just another mask to hide your family's shame? Do I matter to you, or am I just here to suffer silently like your mother did? For a long time, he stayed quiet, his eyes filled with guilt. And finally he said, I love you, but I don't know how to love freely. I grew up watching lies, I grew up watching pain, and now I don't know how to give you the life you deserve. His words broke me even more. Because they were honest, and honesty can be more painful than lies when it comes too late. Days passed. But the tension in the house only grew. My mother-in-law avoided me, her eyes sharp, warning me never to speak. Her brother-in-law walked with pride as if the world owed him something for carrying the family shame. And my husband drowned himself in work, leaving me alone with questions that turned into nightmares every night. I would wake up crying, whispering to myself, why me? Why this life? Why this pain? Then came the day when everything exploded. It was a family gathering, relatives had come over. Laughter filled the house for a few hours. But beneath the laughter there was a tension, a darkness waiting to break through, and it did, in the most shocking way. One of the older relatives, after a few too many words and too little patience, looked at my husband's uncle and said barely, how long will you keep playing the savior when everyone knows the truth? How long will this family keep hiding what should have been confessed years ago? Silence fell, forks and spoons stopped clinking. Eyes widened, my mother-in-law's face turned pale, and my heart raced because I knew the truth was about to break free. My mother-in-law stood up, her voice shaking but loud. Enough, no more. I have carried this shame long enough. I have hidden it, buried it. But tonight I will not hide. Everyone froze. My husband's uncle looked down. My husband closed his eyes as if bracing for a storm. And then she spoke the words that tore through every wall of silence. My husband betrayed me. He fathered a child with another woman, and I chose to stay. I chose to protect this family's honor. I chose to bury my pain. But that choice destroyed me. It destroyed my son. And it destroyed every chance of happiness in this house. Her voice cracked. Tears rolled down her face, and for the first time, I saw not just a strict mother-in-law, but a woman who had been broken. A woman who had been forced to wear strength like armor, while her soul bled inside. She continued, pointing at her brother-in-law. And you took the blame, you carried the scandal. You let people whisper that you were the one to shame this family, And maybe you thought you were saving me. But you weren't. You were suffocating me. You were reminding me every day that my life was built on betrayal. Gasps filled the room. Whispers turned into silence again, and I stood there, my hands trembling. Because the truth was out, the secret was no longer hidden. But instead of feeling free, I felt crushed. Because sometimes the truth doesn't set you free, it chains you harder. My husband stood up, his voice heavy with pain. "Mother, please stop. You're killing yourself." "You're killing me." But she shook her head. "No, son, the truth was killing me all these years. Tonight I let it go." The relatives left with wide eyes and wagging tongues. The house that once pretended to be honorable now stood bare, naked in its shame. And I didn't know whether to cry for my mother-in-law or for myself. That night, I sat alone in my room, the flowers from my wedding night long dead, the walls heavy with memories, and I realized I had to make a choice. I could either spend my life living in this cycle of betrayal, lies and pain, or I could choose myself, my future, my peace. It was not easy, because leaving a marriage is never easy. Walking away from expectations is never easy. But I looked at the mirror and saw a girl who had lost her smile, a girl who had lost her dreams, and I asked myself, do I want to become like my mother-in-law, living with brokenness for the rest of my life? Or do I want to take one painful step now to save my soul? And that night, I made my decision. The next morning, with tears in my eyes but strength in my heart, I told my husband, I cannot live like this. I cannot build my life on ruins. I cannot carry sins that are not mine. I deserve love. I deserve truth. I deserve peace. His eyes filled with tears. He begged me, please, don't leave. I will try. I will change, but I shook my head. You cannot change the past, and I cannot erase what I know. Sometimes love is not enough when it is built on lies. So I left, not with anger, but with sorrow. Not with hate, but with the hope that maybe one day, he too would find healing. And my mother-in-law would find peace with her truth. But for me, my journey had to begin anew. I walked out of that house with empty hands, but a heart that slowly began to feel free. And I promised myself, I will never let silence kill me. I will never let lies define me. I will tell my story even if my voice shakes, because my story is my strength, and that is why I'm here. Speaking to you, telling you every detail, every secret, every pain, because this is not just about me. It is about every girl who suffers silently, every woman who buries her dreams to protect a family's honor, every wife who thinks she has no choice. I want you to know you always have a choice. You always have your voice. And your truth is your power. So if you're still here, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for walking with me through my darkest nights. And if my words touched your heart, please like and subscribe, because this is not the end. This is just the beginning of me telling my truth, and your support keeps me strong.